Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Super Bowl. And it's a good thing that we're Buddhist and we're not attached to the outcome. Is that right, Victor? Yeah. The title of our talk today is How to Avoid Reality. And if you can see the picture of our friend Calvin, of Calvin and Hobbes fame, you see that he is, Calvin, like most of us, has a love-hate relationship with reality. A little bit of it's okay, but not too much. I titled this talk, How to Avoid Reality, knowing full well that you already know how to avoid reality, as do I. We have had many decades of practice. It's become habitual, and we're not even aware of the ways that we do it most of the time. So what we're really talking about is how to recognize how we avoid reality. That's really the essence of it. So, as Robert Browning would say, how do I avoid thee? Let me count the ways. Or maybe he wouldn't say that, but I would put those words in his mouth and apologize to him, of course. So as we look at our world and look at our life, it becomes pretty evident that we avoid reality at every opportunity we have. We have countless ways of distracting ourselves. Most of us carry those with us. Interestingly enough, I forgot to bring mine today, which is perfect. Yeah, the cell phone, along with all of the other devices and apps and ways of connecting to some form of distraction, are endemic in our culture. In fact, at Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts, where I used to go for retreats when they had retreats, physically, they would make an announcement at the beginning of the retreat. If there's anyone that feels like they cannot go for 10 days without using your telephone, give it to us in the front office. We'll put it in a safe, and we won't give it back to you until the end of the retreat, no matter how much you beg. Excepting, of course, for emergencies. Between television, internet, computers, cell phones, we have access to countless ways to entertain, distract, and amuse ourselves. Today, even the news is a form of entertainment. We have turned just about everything into a form of entertainment. a form of distracting ourselves. So we may go to a retreat, or we may get on the cushion all by ourselves and think, well, okay, now I'm free from distractions. What a joke, huh? We carry the world inside of us. In fact, the world inside of us has even more distractions than the world outside of us. Because with the world inside of us, we can create whatever we want at any time. And the nice thing is, there are no passwords necessary. You don't have to figure out which remote to use or which buttons to push. All we need to do is close our eyes, and there is the greatest home entertainment system you can imagine. So, as we tune into this internal system of distraction, it can be very helpful to pay attention to it. And when I say pay attention to it, I don't mean getting lost in it or using it for amusement or entertainment. I'm referring to learning from it, seeing what it's about, asking the question, how can I use this for liberation, for freedom? So we pay attention to the internal dramas and stories, movies. We see we have several channels to choose from. There's the planning channel. The planning channel is always preparing for something in the future. It may be rehearsing a speech that you're going to give, or rehearsing a conversation that you're going to have with someone. Or if you're planning a vacation, it may be rehearsing, planning for this vacation. We find that we can spend a great deal of time and be very amused with all of our various devices of planning. What if this? What if that? I hope this goes the way I want it to. What if this goes wrong? Now, there's nothing wrong with planning. It's an important part of human life for most of us. But when we plan, we should plan intentionally. And it's not a distraction, you see. When we're on the cushion meditating and we're watching the planning channel, typically it's simply a way of avoiding our experience in the moment. It's not productive planning. Another channel, similar to the planning channel, is the analysis channel. The analysis channel is always working on figuring out something. How does it work? What if this happened? What if that happened? Maybe this is what this is about. Maybe this is the cause of that. Maybe this is how I can get what I want. What went wrong? Why didn't that relationship work? If only I could have done this. Next time, maybe I should do that. And on and on and on we go. The mind is a little bit like that 12-step program for compulsive talkers. It's called Al-Anon, Anon, 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 Anonymous. And so on and on the planning goes. On and on the analyzing goes. There's another channel that takes place in every show on this channel takes place in a courtroom. It's called the judging channel. And we can judge, we're the judge, by the way, and we're the jury, we're the plaintiff, we're the defendant. We all play these roles, blaming ourselves, blaming others. You should have done it this way, I should have done it that way. Shame on you, shame on me. Who's right, who's wrong? And on and on and on we go. It's a courtroom where every verdict seems to turn up guilty. Whether someone else is on trial or we ourselves are on trial. It seems like the verdict is always guilty. Guilty is charged. And there is another channel. We could call it the History Channel. Or I like the other title, Down Memory Lane, I call it. That's when we're rehashing the past, remembering, wishing. It could be the way it used to be, back in the good old days, back when I didn't have these problems, back when I didn't have to live in reality. Or maybe we're wishing it was different. Maybe we are hoping for a better past. Maybe we're rehashing the past the way we wanted it to be. Not the way it was, but the way it should have been, could have been. And we have another channel yet, and this is the one you don't have to be, but you should be 18 years old before you can watch this one. This is the Fantasy Channel. And the Fantasy Channel is endless, countless in its opportunities for creating life just exactly the way we like it to be. And in the Fantasy Channel, I always get exactly what I want. Now there's another channel that really combines all of these, and there's no extra charge for it. But it's really a brilliant channel because it takes all of these other channels, it weaves them together, and it's called the Story Channel. This is the story of who I am, what my life is about, who you are, what your life is about, what the world is, what the world's about, what's true, what's beautiful, how things should be, how much I've been cheated, how many people have done bad things to me, or whatever the story is, comedy, tragedy, all of the above. And we tend to be quite attached to our stories. There's good news and bad news with the Story Channel. The good news is that the So, with the Story Channel, every story stars moi. So I love to watch it. I'm the leading man. I always succeed. I always get the beautiful girl. We walk off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Now, the downside of that Story Channel is that it consists mostly of reruns. And if we look closely, these are the same stories we've been running for years and decades. And we don't want to give them up. Because on the other side of our story lies reality. And like Calvin, we don't want too much reality. Just a little bit now and then. Then we go back into our stories. So, once again, it's important not to create a story about our stories. Just recognize the story when it occurs. It can even be helpful to give it a name or a title if you want to. And notice, if you can, that each story has an underlying emotion attached to it. If we are compulsively planning or analyzing, or trying to control the future or the potential future, notice to see if there's any fear or anxiety behind that. Because very often behind compulsive planning or rehearsing is some fear of something that might happen, something that might go wrong. If we play the History Channel a lot, just notice what's connected to this rerunning the past. Very often it's sadness, grief, remorse, or guilt. Something about the past we miss or wish could have been different. The judging channel, if we notice, there's typically a lot of anger embedded in our judgments, including our judgments toward ourselves. Anger, guilt. And sometimes there's some fear that if we don't do it perfectly, or if you didn't do it perfectly, there's fear of shame on me, shame on you. That we may be getting punished or shamed or something for not doing it perfectly. So the stories can help to point us towards what's beneath them. And once you identify the emotion, that's extremely helpful, because then you can begin to feel that emotion in the body directly, sensing it in the body. And that takes us much closer to reality. When we're not caught up in the mind's story, but in the experience of the body. Because the body is always living in the present moment. Anything we experience in our body is happening right now. It's not happening tomorrow or yesterday. It's happening now. So feeling the sensations. Fantasy channel. What's behind the fantasy channel? Well, usually craving, neediness, emptiness, deficiency of some sort, craving some fulfillment. So recognize the story. Recognize when there's a story firing up. Don't fight it, but don't believe it either. It's just a story on the screen. See if you can identify the emotion behind the story. And if you can't, that's not a problem. Just feel the body directly. All roads lead to the body, because the body is present in this moment always. Feel the body, stay in the body, and emotions will bring us alive. Emotions will tell us what we really want. And it also allows us, when we're present to them, to not get tangled up in them. We can live passionately then without attachment. So once again, to find reality, it's important to discover how we try to run from it. And we're never really successful, but nonetheless, we do the best we can. So I think that's enough for this morning. Taking just a moment, we dedicate the merits of our practice to the welfare of all beings everywhere. Thank you for sharing your time with us.